Alright everyone, today we're talking about can the Senators realistically win a Stanley Cup with their young team one day? Now, it might not be that young, might be the next couple of years. I know Eugene Melnick, the owner of the Senators, said in 4 years. But is that realistic? A little bit longer, maybe shorter, if that's even possible. I don't even think it is, but you never know. The Stanley Cup is so unpredictable, you never know whatever happens. So, let's get into this. Now, this team is young, looking very exciting. I know they went through this rebuild, kind of heartbreak rebuild at the same time. Knowing you go from the 2017 playoffs, getting to the Western Conference Final, Game 7, double OT, almost made the finals to a team that went next year, around December, into a rebuild, mid-season rebuild, thinking they could go win the cup next year. It didn't happen. 2018, 2019, 2020, finally things are just kind of shaping up here for the Senators and looking like a bright future for them. So before I get into it, just to let you know, the black ones mean they have a contract. Actually, contract slash prospect, young guy, not even on the roster yet, okay? That's what that means, okay? According to Cap Friendly. So, let's get started. We have Kachuk, Anisabov, and Dadonov. By the way, these are not lines. These are not lineups because they're not. I just was putting out the wingers, the centers, the left wingers, the right wingers, the centers, the defensemen, the goaltending, and just list them. Okay, so might look like lineups a little, might not. By the way, I forgot that I had Christine and Connor Brown until I put at the end, and I had no room, so I put them on the fourth line. Not really fourth line, because these are not lineups. So, Kachuk, he's an RFA next year. You have him kind of talk about the future, how this team's going to build. That's what we want to talk about, how this team can build and become this Stanley Cup contender like they were in 2017, right? Or close to get back to that. Not just get back to that, maybe even try to be better than that. For sure. I know the hockey guy did a video on this. I had my whole board set up, like on YouTube, and I find the hockey guy posted a video on this. I didn't watch it. I just saw the title. I was like, are you kidding me? I want to do this about other teams too. Don't worry. That's what I'm going to be doing on other teams because I can't wait to do it. But let's get into it. So we have Kachuk next season, not this off-season. We have 2020, 2021 off-season. Kachuk's going to want some money. And they do have the money. They have plenty of money. I think they're at $60 million, so just above the cap floor, which a lot of teams right now don't have. Wish they had that problem. Trying to get into the cap floor, right? A lot of teams wish they had that problem. But Pierre Dorian really doesn't have to worry about that. Maybe for the next couple of years. Then the cap starts to build. But Kachuk, he's going to want some money, for sure. We have Anisabov, who's a UFA next year, 2021 offseason. That's fine. They want to keep him about $4.35 million, I think. He will, if he wants to sign, it'll be less money. If he wants to stay, if he doesn't want to stay, take off the Bucks. It's fine. Find another player then. That can be better than $4 million, right? And you have Dadonov, who they just signed for $5 million for 3 years. That's a fantastic signing, I have to say. Get into the cap, above the cap floor, and they're a fantastic player. So that's pretty solid. You have Dadonov, he's locked up. Kachuk, you can hit the sign him, you big young future right there, and you have Anisabov, which you can do whatever you want. Sign him for less than $4 million for sure. He's not gonna want $4 million. Well, he's gonna want it, but you're not gonna offer him $4 million. And yeah. Okay, we have Austin Watson that was actually traded from Nashville to Ottawa. I like that. Austin Watson's okay in the regular season, but he's a pretty solid playoff performer. He all of a sudden finds his scoring touch during the playoffs. It's the weirdest thing. But he's a UFA. He's gonna be a UFA in 3 years. So you have about 2023, about that time. You have a pretty good 2024. You have a pretty good time to just keep him so he can be on the team For sure, Stutzler has not signed his entry-level contract. I'm assuming he will be playing, right? I'm assuming he will be playing next year, right? Maybe contract ELC comes pretty soon. And you have Colin White, who actually signed a 5-year contract. Of course, after 5 years, he'll be UFA. But he's part of your young team. I know he didn't have the best of season last year, about his $4 million, but he would definitely have a better season maybe next year. And he's still part of your young team. So long time locked up there. You have Dadnov, you have White locked up. You have even Watson locked up. Stutzler hasn't had a contract. Let's look at what else we have. Formanton. Yes, he's from the AHL. He looks like a pretty solid guy. He has another year, 2021 off season. You're going to have to sign him as RFA. You also have Josh Norris. He's going to be RFA in 2 years, so 2022. You have to look out for that too. Okay, he's looking pretty good. Belfield Senators. He looked really solid in the AHL. NHL. We'll see how that goes. I'm assuming he'll probably get a chance to crack the opening day lineup for the Ottawa Senators. Rudolph Barcelos also has to. I think he's signed a 1 year. Just signed a 1 year contract with him, so he'll be RFA in another year. So a lot of 1 year contracts. Another year for a lot of RFAs on this team, right? You have Abanoff, who's also RFA. He's out there too. If you want to sign him up again, he's RFA. You're going to want to keep him. It's interesting. He might become something. He might not become something. They traded him for Duchesne and Declare, and things have worked out. Also, since I put out here, I wanted to write this down. Totally forgot about it. And I remembered. Declare, another guy. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the video. Okay, you have Logan Brown. This Logan Brown, he's an RFA 2021. Another RFA 2021. Yes, sir. And you also have Drake Batherson, another 2021 RFA. So you have some guys there, some young guys. They're probably not going to get big races. And you have the money for it, so Pierre Dorian doesn't have to be worried about moving out some money, which he doesn't have to whatsoever, to keep these guys. And they're not going to be like 5 million, here you go, 5 million here, 5 million here. No, maybe little races, depending how they do next year. Of course, a lot of these players are going to see how they do next year and see how the race goes, and Pierre Dorian can go figure that out, right? Okay, you got that. Look at the kind of the future, and we talk about the Stanley Cup, how they can win it. Okay, you have that. You also have Chris Tierney, who's also an RFA right now in 2020. They had to try to sign him to a contract. Shane Pinto, who doesn't have a contract, he could be a young center for them. Very excited about him. And Connor Brown, he's an RFA this summer. Right now, he's like Chris Tierney. So those two guys have to be signed. We'll see how that goes. So that's your center, your forward group. Thoughts about that for winning the Stanley Cup one day? You definitely have the good chalk. That's great. Stutzler, that would be a big. That's your center. You need that. You have Norris. You have Brown, Logan Brown. Hopefully he could be some type of center for you. Second, third line center. Maybe Josh Norris and Brown can kind of work that out. Tierney, maybe he'll be part of that center group too. On the wing, you have Dadnov. In 3 years, will they actually win the cup? That's interesting. Maybe they make the playoffs in 3 years. I'm sure by 3 years. But when the Stanley Cup by then, maybe he signs a cheaper contract still for Ottawa. Who knows? Maybe that's something they can do. You have Watson, who's a pretty solid playoff performer. There you go. Solid player. Maybe these guys who are RFAs that kind of AHL, NHL, still trying to get themselves into the NHL can kind of blossom next year. Maybe one of those guys can really help. And then, you still have free agency. You can go splash on a big UFA if you really want to. It might not be the best idea because then you get in cap trouble, which is not in right now. So that's something to worry about. But maybe one day down the road, they think they have the money for long term for a big UFA. Boom, add them to your team and help you get to the playoffs. Not just that, win rounds. Yes, the first round, the second round, conference finals, get to there one day. One day. So, we talked about the forward depth. That's what it is. We're hoping some of these AHL, NHL level still prospects thinking they have a future. Some of these guys will work out, and some of these guys, unfortunately, probably will not work out. Not all the guys work out because that's pretty hard to have everyone work out. That's pretty amazing if you can do that, but mostly that never happens. So some guys work out, some guys don't. It's gonna happen, and yes. So we'll see how that goes. Who becomes that guy for the Ottawa Senators? Those RFAs for next year. Who doesn't? And we'll find out next year, two, right? All right, let's look at defense. Well, you have Thomas Chabot, who's a UFA in 8 years. He's locked up. He's that guy who just logs all the minutes on the blue line. He can be out there for the whole entire 60 minutes of a game, and he'll be like, yep, do we have a back-to-back game? Yep, I'll be there. Literally. Maybe I'm a little, sorry about that. Maybe I'm a little exaggerating there on his ice time, but he's pretty solid of a defenseman. He's your guy in that blue line. It's good to have a guy like that, and they have that guy. You also have Zaitsev. UFA in 4 years. I know the Maple Leafs did not want to keep him anymore. He wanted to move on, so he went to the Senators. And there you go, included with Connor Brown here. So, we'll see how that goes. Nikita Zaitsev is okay defenseman. He was okay this year. Not amazing, not horrible. He was okay. You also have Mike Riley, who, maybe next couple of years to see what he can bring. Not next couple of years, like this next year. For Montreal, I'm a Caps fan, and they try to use him in the top four a little, see what he can do, because, of course, the left side for the Canadians on defense was pretty weak back then. Now it isn't, but back then it was. So they tried to use Mike Riley, and he really couldn't get himself together. So maybe the Ottawa Senators can find something in him. That could be something. You have also Gabranson, who has $4 million. Senators are like, yeah, we need the cap. Thank you. He's a UFA next year, so another one you can take right off the books. You can take about $8 million off the books next year with between Gabranson and Anisibot. There you go. So then you can still sign a big UFA if you want, right? You have tons of cap. And you have Wolfland, who is a UFA in 2 years. You want to keep him? You could. He hasn't really played much. He's still trying to get himself together. And you also have Brown. Josh Brown. We have 3 Browns. My goodness, there's 3 different Browns. Yes, Josh Brown, who was traded for, I believe, a 4th or 5th round pick for 2021 from the Panthers. He was okay, pretty solid on the third pairing. I like that. I like the move that Pierre Dorian did. It was pretty solid, I have to say. Okay, other defensemen, we have LaJoy, we have Brandstrom that went traded from Vegas to the Senators for Mark Stone and all that stuff. He's an RFA in 2 years. He's still trying to find himself as a defenseman. I think he can. He's a really young guy. Maybe you can find something next year. Yeah, Bernoullin Barker, who's another defenseman, really young, still a guy you have to watch and see what he can become. He's a guy, he has to have a contract. We'll see how that goes. Lassie Thompson is also another guy who they actually drafted last year. They didn't have their own first round pick, but they did take one from, who did they take one from? Man, I can't remember. But it was around 20th, around that part, and they got Lassie Thompson. So there you go. Was it Vegas? It might have been Vegas. And you have Jake Sanderson, who they just drafted 5th overall. And yes, he's part of the Senators. He's another defenseman. You can look into the future, having Sanderson, Thompson, Brandstrom, even having Chabot. Could be a pretty solid defense. And maybe even next year, going into the draft, maybe getting someone around top 15 to 16. I mean, top 10 to 15. Maybe not making the playoffs. Maybe get a pick around there. Not like the top 5. I'm not assuming to be better than that. So maybe the top 7 to 15. They can get a prospect, another one. Still have the picks they have. Work with that and get another prospect, another future guy that can come into this team and add to become a future Stanley Cup champion. Now this team's looking really solid. You got the defense, you got the offense. I do like the offense a little bit more than the defense. Actually, not really. You have both are pretty balanced, I have to say. But Stützle is going to be your number one center. That's your guy that you have to base everyone around him on that forward group. Yes, you have Kachuk. Not saying he's horrible. Yes, you have Kachuk, but you also have Stützle. That's center you need. So that's perfect. All right, we also have in goal. And this is what Pierre Dorian did. He weaponized those second-round picks he had. Took a second-round pick and a prospect. All right, here you go, Pittsburgh. We want Matt Murray. They did. They got him. He's going to be a UFA in 4 years. They signed him $6 million. They need to use that $6 million. They have full trust in him. They can use him. And he's super excited to be there. Which, look at this team. Why wouldn't you not be? So, there you go. I guess Eugene Melnick saying, after the 4 years here, that fourth year, Murray's going to win that Stanley Cup and have his third of his career. I guess, because he said in 4 years, right? Within 4 years. Just saying. So, you also have Andreas Nielsen, who's a pretty solid backup. He's a big, solid goaltender. You also have Hogberg, who played pretty solid. He's an RFA in 1 year. Nielsen's a UFA in another year. So, 2021 for both of those guys. Gustafson's a good AHL solid goaltender. He's the future, could be a future player. He's an RFA in another year. You also have Sogard, who, watch out for him. Looks like a really solid goaltender. He has no contract yet, but he could be a guy. And for all you that remember Anthony Duclair, do you add him? I know they didn't qualify him, but are they debating how much they want to give him? Because what other team is he going to go to get paid? Think about it. No, there's a flat cap. You know, maybe the Devils, maybe the Red Wings. If you really want to be paid something. So Duclair, maybe he finds himself back at the Senators. That's another thing, right? So looking at this, realistically, I can say 4 to 6 years. 4 to 6 years, I could see. I don't want to say at 4 years like Eugene Melnick said, because I feel like that's still bold of a prediction. 4 to 6 years, if this team's really going to make it and get to the peak of becoming that contender and being that fantastic team and making the playoffs and winning rounds and all of that, 4 to 6 years I see this team getting to the peak and staying there for a little bit. After that, maybe 4 to 7 years, who knows? Maybe they win a Stanley Cup in that time. Well, they're trying to build like that, and maybe they'll be better than the 2017 playoff run they had. Maybe. So we'll see how that goes. You definitely have the goaltender and Matt Murray to be that guy who has experience. Yes, he didn't play last year very well, but we'll see how that goes. But everything else, you look, pretty solid. Next year, you're going to see them try to compete for a playoff spot the best they can. I think they'll be just out of it, but it'll be easy to kind of get in there, I think, and still beat them. But they're going to be tough like last year. Maybe a step higher, another step or 2 or 3 higher. And maybe just the best I think they can do, the very best, get into a second wild card spot next year, which is a good start for them. But even if they don't, the next year after, getting a draft pick, getting some more picks, getting Sanderson coming up one day, Stützle another year, Kachuk, another great year from him, all that stuff. Maybe your team becomes a team, right? You have Lassie Thompson, another guy there, so maybe your team wins the Stanley Cup. I'm going to say in 4 to 6 years. If they do win the Stanley Cup, it's got to be that range, 4 to 6 years. So thanks for watching. Like the video, did the bell count, share. I want to be a safe area, not saying 4 years or 7 years. 4 to 6 years, I feel like is reasonable. So thanks for watching. Have a nice day. We just analyzed the future, what we have. Quickly before we end, we have some guys You have 8 million between Anisabov and Gudbranson, like I said. Bring a big UFA, boom, add him to your team. Either that's a forward or a defenseman. We'll see. But just saying, they have the cap for it, but you don't want to be in cap trouble either, because that's a pain. Just think of the Lightning. So, we'll see how that goes. Like I said, like the video, do the bell, comment, share. Let's hit 400 subs. See you next video, and goodbye.